On Sunday, October the 18th at 8 p.m.
Now on 4, how to make the most of a blustery, rainy day.
Even on holiday in Mallorca, you can have one of those days, and this is one of them. It's blowing a gale outside and it's cold. So what do you do on holiday when you want to paint and you're indoors? Well, you can take a sketch or do a sketch outside. Now, this one I did. In fact, I didn't have a sketchbook. June and I were having a coffee on the beach. Didn't have the sketchbook. It was left in the car, and I didn't even have a pencil. I mean, an artist who doesn't have a pencil, well, it does happen. But we did have a biro. And so I drew on the back of a postcard, one that June had got, grabbed the postcard and sketched this in biro. Actually, biro's pretty good for working. And I got the outline and mainly the shape that I need, but you need as much information as you can get on something where you're doing it quickly like that. So what I did, I got a photograph of the same scene. It's in the sun. It's in the sunset. I'm not going to paint it in the sunset, but the fact is, it's given me a silhouette shape of what I drew. So it's a bit more information just to make sure I'm right. So that's one way, and then of course you paint it inside. Another way is to do a sketch, and especially on holiday, you're doing sketches and you haven't got time to paint it because you've got to go somewhere else or there's something else to see. Well, make colour notes on something separate, like this. I did it on a bit of blotting paper, actually. Just made quick colour notes, and then you work inside. And actually, it's very, very good for working and having observation really drilled into you. It really makes you think of observation and work and look, because you've got to come away, you've got to do something without the subject there. Doesn't matter if the colours aren't right. Doesn't matter if they're just a bit off. Doesn't matter at all. It's teaching you observation. And of course, you're enjoying it at the same time. So it's a lovely way to work indoors. And I've also done another sketch of a windmill. In fact, they're strange windmills. I haven't seen any like this before. When you look at them, you'd hardly believe that they go round. I can't see where they get all this sort of wind into what appears to be non-sails. It doesn't look as though they've got sails. Anyway, that's another one that I've sketched outside. And finally, there's always the last thing, of course, the last resort, if you like, and that is taking photographs. I've got some photographs here. I've taken one of a couple of palm trees and a cactus plant, and copy from the photographs. They're Polaroid because they develop quickly, but it's another way of enjoying painting when you're indoors and there's nothing else to do. Incidentally, I must show you that one. That's a photograph of their post box. I saw it in a wall, and it's incredible. They're all yellow, and of course it's so strange to us when you're so used to red ones. But this is yellow, and I didn't have a sketchbook, and I photographed it. If I'd have had a sketchbook, I would have sketched it, because it's just one of those things for sort of memory lane, a yellow post box. But anyway, there we are. They're the things you can do. So, although it's miserable outside and cold, who worries? We're going to have some fun in here and enjoy it. That's what it's all about, enjoyment. And after all, we are on holiday. So, let's get down to it, shall we? What inspired me about this balustrade and veranda was the fact that it was all warm and glowing in yellow colours and goldy colours. It's the stonework that it's all made from, but it was really gorgeous. And we've got deep shadows, you see, we've got deep shadows through here, which I actually shaded in at the time. And it was light against dark, but it was warm. It was really lovely. So, that's what did it. Let me get on painting it. Now, first of all, this house in the background was a sort of warm white, Well, I don't particularly want it white in the picture, so I'm just doing it a warm off-white, more yellowy. Again, back to these sort of golden colours. That was a light area around the window, so I shall leave that. I'm just painting into the tree, so that if anything, when I'm leaving some areas of background when I'm painting the tree, it's this colour that's coming through. And the colour went through the back there. It's amazing. The bricks themselves are obviously individual colours. Some are dark reddy colour, some are yellowy colour, some are sort of a dirty colour. But when you're painting an overall picture, in other words, an overall impression of this, you can't paint every individual brick. So you've got to look at it and say to yourself, what really is the overall colour? And change it slightly as you go along. And from sort of yellow, add a bit more red. I'm using yellow ochre and crimson alizarin for the colours. That's all. I'm not adding blue in at this stage. I don't want any blue. I don't want to dirty them up. I want them to be really sort of bright, ready and sparkling warm. Now that was a lighter colour. That was a sort of more of a, I don't know whether it was cement, that post there, or whether it was stone itself, but it was certainly lighter. Now notice how I'm letting the brush dance on there. I'm not painting very, very carefully. I'm just dancing on one break there, because that is the first bit on the this unit balustrade, and then another one there under blob and another one. So I'm really splitting it into the areas that it's made from. So 1, 2, 3 and 4 with the brush. And that is important, because every time you leave a little bit of white paper, that little bit of white paper should mean something. I'm just dabbing into this now, because this is in between the leaves of the trees that are over here. And when I come to paint them, obviously, they'll be showing some of this balustrade underneath. The other thing is the light colour in here of this stone, or the lighter colour of the stone. There was a pot on there. Now, I have a funny, if I remember rightly, I think the pot, now that's running, that's rather nice. I think the pot was not very red, you know, one of these terracotta pots, how lovely they are, but I'm going to exaggerate it. I'm sure it was more yellow, but I just want to put a bit more pinky colour on that, just to exaggerate it, because it looked rather nice, I think. Now, what have we got into? Oh, yes, that's another thing. See, when you're working from memory, you'll find that sometimes you're not working in exactly the same way as you would if you was painting from life, simply because you've got to remember things rather than seeing them. When you're working from your model, from life itself, you see them. As these things are happening, then you see it and react to it. But you're often working slightly different when you're working from memory. Now that's strange, because I remember that was very light. I would have darkened it in, and I can't imagine why that through there is much lighter. But there we are. That was dark through there. I shall leave that, because it was light. There must be some reason for it. The sun was catching it somewhere, although that is a shadow. But I will leave that light, because I do particularly remember that they were very, very sort of strong against a very light background. There's green shutters everywhere on the island. So let's just put that in. I'm only just suggesting them. Just suggest, but it's nice. It just gives that feeling of shutters, because the brush stroke itself, again, although it's not doing it detailed, has actually given that feeling that it could be shutters. I've got to look at my colour notes again. Green tree, white, grey, orange. Yes, so we're okay. Now, if this is dry enough, we can just go over it. So you just dab it on, pretend you're leaves. This is where your brush is a leaf and you're really sort of playing at leaves, dancing around. There wasn't much wind, of course, but they do just sort of flutter around and fall. And now we're getting gradually sort of getting a feel of it now. And all of a sudden you really start, oh boy, it's working. And there's nothing better than when you're doing a painting when you really feel it's working. Oh, it gives you a lovely feeling, does that. Mind you, it also gives you a nasty feeling if it isn't working. And then you start to feel, oh. But when it's working, it really is lovely. We know that's got to be darker, so I'll leave that until I'm sure we're absolutely dry in there. There's a tree up here. Now, that was a dark tree and very closely shaped. It didn't sort of straggle all over the place. Had a nice clean edge. And I'll carry on with the trunks that showed while I'm doing this because there's trunks all coming out. Two things left. One, these posts. Now, they were dark. And I've got the option now, because I've left them white, I've got the option whether to make them dark or whether to keep them light. Now, the strange thing is I rather like these here being light, but that one's lost a bit. I'm going to put that one in dark and these two in dark, and there's another one there. Then there was just these stones which were on the edge of the path. Again, they're the same colour, you see, because obviously it's the local stone. There's a couple there. And there was ones on this side of the road. The fence. And now the very last thing of all is the weather vane. And that's on the up there. I'm making sure I'm not touching anything because it's wet. But so I've got to be very careful and just put him in like that. And I can't remember what that was on. I'm sure it must have been one of these colours. I'll just put a bit of dark in there. They're the roof tiles while I'm here. Here we go, fiddling, fiddling. Don't fiddle, leave it. I could put a bit of shadow on it. No, that's it. I won't fiddle anymore. Just that little bit there. It's amazing. You see these things and you want to just carry on, but you can't carry on because you'll overdo it. So let's have a look at that. Now, I reckon that's done it. It's just a way of using a sketch that you've done outside and using your memory and a bit of imagination to work the colour on there. And no doubt if I went back and saw it, it would look different to that anyway. But it's got that feeling and it made me remember about it. And I enjoyed it. I suppose you wonder what I'm doing sitting out here after we've had a day like we've had. Well, it's turned out to be glorious, and there's a lovely sunset. I'm going to have a go at painting it, well, sketching it. I've got to be quick, because obviously the sky's moving or the sun is moving all the time, so here we go. Now, this is where you've really got to move fast. This is not for faint hearts. We've got roughly the sun I'm putting about, gosh, the difficulty is also when you're doing something like this, you're looking at the sun, and of course the sun isn't helping because you're just seeing a lot of funny black blobs in front of your eyes when you come back to your picture. But the idea is to get a lovely feeling of it, and bear in mind that usually sunsets aren't painted. Larger ones aren't painted looking at the sun. They're done from sketches, and when they're done from sketches you use them to work from indoors where you've got time to think and look and see what happens, because otherwise there is no way that you can paint the sun when it's just moving down all the time. It is amazing how quickly it moves. It really is. In fact, I've watched the sunset from this villa, and I've watched the red sun go down, and it's amazing. You actually count it as it goes down so quick you can sort of count it down over the horizon. Now this first colour that I'm putting in is a sort of grey blue with more pink added as I go down. So it's almost a mauve. Remember, we'll get our colour when we get that in. I must get rid of that white bit there. Now, let's have a look, and we're going bluer now, or more mauve as we go down to the sea. Now, I can't see the horizon because that's all covered, or shall I say covered in mist or through the sunset. So all I'm doing, I'm going to paint this down, then I shall give an indication of the sea by putting the reflection on it from the sun. There's also a headland down here, and I'll just put him in. I think it's worth it. It's a weeny bit low, but I think it's worth putting it in, because what it does, it just gives an indication of scale to the picture. The sea's a little lighter, actually. Sort of, that's a bit better. Just that little, it's just gone a bit lighter. It's changing all the time, is the colour. This is where we get the reflection through here, so I shall leave that. It's funny, usually I don't paint this type of sunset. I usually like a lot of cloud in a sunset, but after a day like this, inside and seeing this, it looked like heaven out there. It really did look gorgeous. I thought, well, I must paint that. I might bring the headland right down to there, I don't know yet, but I'll leave that light there for when I'm putting the, oh, it's going red now. It's, gosh, the sun up there is really changing. It's changing all the time. Oh, I shouldn't have really have done that. Let's leave that because I'm going over that too much. Now, this is where I need a cleaner brush. Gosh, I've looked at the sun, and I can hardly see now. Now it really is, the sun itself is in the middle, it's very yellow. And then it goes red outside it. And starts to spread in a sort of reddy pink. You haven't got time to wash brushes out when you're doing something like this. In fact, there's some cloud up there, which is rather nice. Just a little bit of cloud up there. Not much. It's actually, again, it's very difficult because when you look at it, as I say, you come back and you've got all these blobs of green, and in fact it is green, the opposite colour to red. and they're really taking out a lot of the colour when you look at your painting. Now I'm coming back into the sun, get a bit more pink in there. Down there. It's difficult to tell whether it is pink on here because of the, as I say, looking into the sun. Perhaps a little bit more yellow there. Gosh, it's going red now. I think it'll end up with a red ball going into the sea, which I have seen here, and it is very nice, I must say. But this is the trouble. What I'm doing now, I'm trying to get what is changing all the time, and I shouldn't be doing that. There's some lovely cloud up there just sorting itself out. I don't believe this. Do you know that the reflection has gone off the sea? But fortunately, I left this here, and of course I still know where it came from. I've got to line it up under the sun, of course. Just get the cliff down there. And it runs up there. We've got trees on there, just the silhouette shapes of them. This is just a case of really painting it in dark so we get the silhouette. It's very difficult to see any shape in there at all. It's amazing how much warmer it's got as well this evening. It really is nice, very still, very calm. Wind has gone. If you take a photograph of the sunset, it always helps you to get used to painting sunsets. I just want to put some more light on that, that's better. And a little, let me line it up, just a little bit more reflection coming on the sea. There's just a little suggestion of a white wave or light coloured wave breaking down here. I might do it a bit too, let's get a bit of grey blue on that. Just to suggest that there is a little bit of movement left on this water after the windy day we've had. Well, there isn't much more you can do with that. I mean, the whole thing has changed again. It's changed 3 or 4 times while I've been painting it. We can't see the horizon, so this might look a little odd. Perhaps just a little feature in there. That's just a little bit of feature, just to give it a little bit more form. Just the rocks coming down, but no more than that. Just got to be a little bit. Even then I might have done too much. In fact, here we go. I'm fiddling. Must not fiddle, Alwyn. That's enough. Well, I lost the reflection. The sun turned red on me, but that's painting. But I did enjoy it. And that's what it's all about. I'll see you next time. Cheers.